Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone, and this is another episode of our live show.
Seen and Heard. Used to be a podcast, might still be a podcast in some regions, but it's mostly a live show. Today with us, we have John Lamberton, a really special guest who, as his title says, is the author of Big Ideas for Small Businesses, but also many other things. John, could you tell our audiences a bit about yourself?
Certainly can. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Dita. Welcome, welcome, readers, listeners, watchers. So, Doc, you've inspired me with that Truman Show. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are.
Yeah, we're international, so the whole world is looking down.
Absolutely. As my business partner says, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, thank you. So I'm a former civil servant who basically hated his job 26 years ago and decided that I would learn how this internet marketing thing worked. So my first business was an internet marketing company. 3 problems with that. Number 1, I knew nothing about marketing. Number 2, I'd never run a company before. And number 3, I didn't have access to the internet. Other than those 3 things, not a problem. So I basically worked day and night alongside my day job that I absolutely hated. I don't know if I've mentioned that. I hated this job with a passion. Alongside that, I picked up a copy of Internet Marketing for Dummies. Never has a title been more appropriate than that book. And I read the book and I followed the instructions. 9 months later, I received my first royalty check from my first business. It was for £13.51. To this day, I wish I'd kept it. Now, I'm going to say I received a check. I may need to explain to some of the viewers what a check is. It's a bit of paper. It's a bit like a Bitcoin, really, but it's on paper. And I really wish I'd kept that because I would have framed it.
Yeah, but the value doesn't go up that fast with checks.
No, not at all. I really wish I'd kept that because that was the moment that, although it, I joke about it now and say 9 months work for £13.51. That was the moment I knew I'd actually proven the model. I'd earned some money from my efforts. And from there, £13.51 was April 2001. September 2001, I go part-time at my day job. Suddenly, I'm earning a couple of £100 a month. December 2021, I hand my notice in and I leave the day job from hell, never to be seen again, right off into the sunset, and then start running businesses. And it is businesses, plural. I had the curse of Richard Branson when I was in my infancy as a business owner. And I thought that, I had a successful business. I made my internet marketing company successful, very successful, great. But I've only got one business. And, Richard Branson was my hero at the time. And I thought, well, if you're going to be a real business owner, you've got to have, a record company and an airline. You've got to run a mobile phone company and take on Coca-Cola and look cool and abseil down buildings whilst you do it. So that's what I did. And I started I would have an idea on the Monday, launch a website on the Tuesday, and I just launch businesses willy-nilly. Ultimately, most of those businesses did not work. They were terrible ideas. They shouldn't have even left my brain. But some of them did work. And as I've now got 26 years hindsight, there's probably been 4 or 5 businesses that have been very, very successful, and 2 in particular that have just been absolute world changers for me in terms of changing my world, not Steve Jobs put a dent in the universe type thing. I exited the day-to-day running of my main business 10 years ago now. And together with my business partner, Jason, we decided we wanted to help the next generation of small businesses avoid the mistakes that I'd made, avoid some of these wrinkles around here and some of the gray hairs that I'm up here, by just helping them. And we started off around my kitchen table and we said, let's get a group of people together, meet once a month, give them some books to read, give them some homework, answer their questions. Brilliant. And we did that for about 3 or 4 months. And then I said, look, we'd helped 12 people. And I said, I really enjoy helping these 12 people, but I want to help 12,000. So my coach at the time said to me, why don't you write a book? I said, I don't want to write a book. No one's going to read my book. Just some normal bloke from Plymouth. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not been on Dragon's Den or anything like that. No one knows who I am. No one cares who I am. No one's going to read it. He said, no, I think you should. And I had some time on my hands. I said, do you know what? I'm going to do it. If no one else reads it, then my kids. And I have a copy of, this is the way I think businesses should be run, and this is the way I see the world. And it's there for my kids. Great. That became Big Ideas for Small Businesses. I wrote that book 10 years ago, or just under 10 years ago. It came out 2017. So 9 years ago now. And I stood on stage at that book launch and said, I'm never writing another book again. 12 months later, I was back writing again. My second book, Routine Machine, came out, and I'm about to release book number 5, which is Retention First. Basically making the claim that there's no better way to grow your business than by keeping the customers you've already got. So I've evolved my business over the years based on this simple principle of read the book, follow the instructions. That's all I've ever done. You know, viewers on the live stream can see the bookcase behind me there with some of the books that have made a difference to me in my life. I still, to this day, read books, follow instructions. That's all I do. I play winner stays on with my businesses, with my business ideas. So I'll try stuff, do more of what works, stop doing what doesn't work. And if you just keep doing that, and I've been doing that for 2.5 decades now, you will get success. You will still have failures, you'll still have dead ends, you'll still make mistakes, but ideally you'll stop repeating the same mistakes over and over again. That was a very long-winded introduction to who I am. John Lammerton, hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, John. Yeah, and I read a couple of your books. This is the 5th now? Okay.
Yeah, 5 just coming out.
And until now, I realized we basically started more or less at the same time with this internet thingy. And from what I understood in your books, you have quite a different experience, but also what you think about either Google, SEO, social media, and other than, let's say, today's gurus that preach about it. And this is very interesting for me because I also, when I started with SEO, you just put as many keywords as you could in the same color as a background, and you're on. So I'm really waiting to see this book. But let's say, what is the difference? Why do people preach so much about social media and SEO today, and what is actually the way to have it in the long run?
Yeah,
to have your business.
You said, yeah, we've been playing the SEO game pretty much as long as SEO has existed. I was playing SEO.
Search engine has existed because Google wasn't the first one. It was a couple of them before it. So, yeah.
That's what I was thinking is when I first started SEO, I was trying to SEO for Alta Vista and Ask Jeeves and Excite and all of these engines that people are going, who? And Google was nowhere to be seen. When did we really start? I think 2001, 2002 was when Google really started to take off. I think 2002 or 2003 was when they launched AdWords, and that really took off. But yeah, it was at the time that my initial probably 10 years of business was entirely SEO. That was my only marketing pillar. Was I knew, I mentioned earlier, if I had an idea on the Monday, launch a website on the Tuesday, by Wednesday it's number 1 on Google, because I knew how to do that. And Darky, you've given away my secrets now of how I did that. And it was, you put the same keyword, you repeat it, you put it the same color as the background, you buy some links, sorry, you do some sponsored advertising with the same keyword pointing to the same direction. It just...
Yeah, but it didn't work for long anyway. So yeah, they're not secrets really.
Yeah, but that didn't work for long. But then something else relatively simple would work, and you'd follow that for 6 months or 18 months until they changed that. The big thing for me was Panda and Penguin. And if any SEOs in the day, I mentioned those 2 words, Panda and Penguin, you know exactly what I mean and exactly how painful that was. So that would have been, 2012.
So for the audience, this is the change in algorithm at Google.
Yeah,
for search.
It was probably, I think it was the biggest change to their algorithm they'd ever done at that point. I think they've done larger since. But at the time, it was designed to weed out, on Google's point of view, thin, poor quality websites. Not ours, of course. Ours were good. But yeah, so January 2012, I am probably getting about 1 million visitors a month from Google for free via SEO. That is my entire business model. By probably May 2012, I'm down to about 70,000. So I've lost 93% of my traffic pretty much overnight for almost all of my businesses. So at the time, I would have been running about 10 different businesses in 10 very different sectors: sports betting, travel, retail, office space, florists, all sorts of different sectors. But across the board, all the traffic went, and all of my businesses suffered except one. And the one business that didn't suffer was the one where I had built up an email list, and I had built up a brand, and I had built a community of users that when the website was no longer visible in Google, these people went hunting for it because they wanted to find my website, their website as they saw it. It was their community. They wanted to access it. I had the power. I had the control to email those guys and say, hey, look, you won't find us in Google anymore, but here's a link to the website. Here's today's product. Here's where you can buy stuff. And suddenly I realized that across the board, I've lost 93% of my traffic. I've lost 93% of my revenue. But there's one business, I've lost all the traffic and the revenue's gone down about 5%. So I suddenly realized I control this. I have built this business on my land. Every other business I've built on Google's land. And it's Google's, I talk about it in Evergreen Assets, it's Google's football. Okay, they have the power to say we're moving the goalposts, and they do regularly. Now, 2026, it's Google's not sending us any traffic. It's zero click. It's all AI results now. Well, that's just them moving the goalposts, and we can all moan and complain and say, "Oh, it's not fair. That's my business model screwed. What are you doing, Google?" Well, it's Google's land. Google can do what they like with their website, and they do. So when I see small businesses, it pains me every time I try to deal with a small business and I go on, I Google them, and suddenly I think, oh, they don't have a website. They don't have a way to contact. They have an Instagram page. And I just go, great. I'm not on Instagram. So, right, I won't deal with that company then. Or a restaurant and they're on Facebook. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go on social media. I want to go to your website and I want to interact with you. I want you to be professional. I don't want you to build your empire, build your foundations on someone else's land. Facebook, again, very good example. Back in the day, we were spending about 10 grand a month on Facebook ads to build up a Facebook page. We had a Facebook page with 127,000 fans. It was, again, at the time, our only marketing pillar. This is brilliant. This worked great for us. And then one day, Facebook just said, "Dear advertiser," couldn't even get our name in there. "Dear advertiser, you're no longer able to advertise with us, and we're closing your page down." But where's our right of appeal? No. How do I speak to a human? You can't. Overnight, we'd built our empire on their land. And so, yeah, we lost.
And you were paying for them.
We
not,
had
not
paid
a small amount of
to build
money.
that audience up. And overnight, they decided, no, we don't like that page. We're just going to kill it. And no right of appeal, nothing. But that's what happens when you build your business on someone else's land. And there's, look, do a quick search of this. There are tons of businesses out there who have built their business on Instagram, who've built it on Facebook, and they have lost it. They've lost their page. Suddenly, they cannot contact their customers anymore. And I say their customers, but if you're building it on Instagram, you're building it on Facebook, they're not your customers. Check the terms and conditions. They are not your customers. You do not have the right to contact them. Facebook are allowing you, Meta are allowing you to contact them at the moment. And they can take that away at any moment. So build on your own land is definitely the best advice I could give there.
Yeah, and it's no different with our social media bit, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever. So it's all the same.
Definitely.
Since we mentioned land, I might as well show the comments. Mary is saying hello from Italy.
Buongiorno.
And she said, lol, we're not that young when you were talking about checks, I believe, at the start somewhere. No TikTokers in the audience this morning, maybe in the future. Now, when you say build on your own land and build your own communities, what do you advise people now in the age of AI? How to build these communities and how to make it your own thing?
So my key thing has always been email, and it's good that we've got no youngsters on this call because they don't believe in email. Because the current generation alpha don't open emails, they don't read emails until they get a job, and then their workplace says, "Here's your email address," and suddenly they use email. It maintains to this day the best way of controlling and owning your audience. Any other platform, say whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on YouTube can take away your subscribers. They can close your channel. Now, doesn't happen that often, and there's normally a very good reason for it, but it can happen. And if you check the terms and conditions, Mr. Beast is building a brand outside of YouTube. He is the most prolific YouTuber going, but he is building his personal brand outside of YouTube. He is doing collaborations now with proper TV companies. He has built an email list. So many of the main influencers are building this outside of the main platforms, and it's having that control. I'm going to talk about control a lot today. And if you have an email list, so I have an email list now with an email provider that allow me at the moment to use their platform to email my list. If that platform, for whatever reason, decide we don't want to take your money anymore, John, and we're closing your account down, I take my list and I take it to someone else because it's my list. I own it. As long as I download it on a regular basis and I make sure that I've got a backup and I've got a copy of it, that's my list. Those people have opted in and asked to hear from me. And the open rates that I get, phenomenal, mainly because I don't sell to people on a regular basis. I talked in Routine Machine about building up this weekly email. Every week, sending an email to your list, that doesn't sell anything to them, but instead builds up the know, the like, the trust that all marketers know they need to do, so that people will eventually go, that's great. You're clearly the best person for the job. Can I send you some money, please? But it's having that control over that list. I love email. It doesn't have to be email. Okay. I am proper old school. I love my emails, but whatever works for you, make sure you've got that control. Make sure that if the platform you are currently using just whips the rug out from underneath you, that you can take your audience to another platform and say, that's exactly what Mr. Beast is doing. He's ensuring, and I'm sure YouTube are not sacking him off anytime soon, but they may downgrade him on the algorithm. They may stop sending him as many clicks. They may tweak something that is ultimately not in his best interests. He can take his audience elsewhere and make sure anyone watching today that you have control over your audience and you can move them to another platform if and when the platform you're currently working on suddenly decide they don't like you anymore.
So it's email for you. And I really like the interesting thing you said. You build this liking of you. People start trust you, but this doesn't happen overnight. You need to contact them weekly for probably a longer amount of time.
Absolutely. Every single one of my businesses has been built on this ethos of the weekly email. My very first business 26 years ago really took off. And I mentioned that period whereby I earned the £13.51, and then I quit the day job 5 months later. That was the period in which I started emailing people. That was the difference. Literally, someone said to me, why haven't you got a mailing list? And my answer to that was, I don't know how to have one. Bear in mind, this is the early 2000s. So hat tip to this guy, Jason. He said, like, this is what you do. This is how you do it. He walked me through it. I launched the email. I started emailing people every week. And all it was letting people know what's going on in my world this week. Hey, great to hear from you. Here's something personal. Here's what's going on in the business. Here's what we're doing. Here's what's coming. Here's what we're working on. And all right, I am talking the early 2000s when I could put on the website, join my mailing list, and people go, oh, yes, please. I can't wait to join your mailing list. Hey, have my actual email address that comes directly to me. I would then email them every Thursday. I'd get, I don't know, 85% open rates. When people go, oh, I've got an email. Fantastic. This doesn't happen anymore. If I were to put on the website, join my mailing list, people would go, no, thank you. Pop your email address in. Yeah, I'll give you my Gmail account, I think. Or maybe my old Hotmail account that I don't check that often. I'm not getting 85% open rates, but I am getting 40% open rate, which for the industry is really, really good because these people want to hear from me and I don't send them crap. If you look at most emails you get from most businesses, they are buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. They don't email you for a year and then they go, hey, do you want to buy something? Like, no, that's not how relationships work. That's not how marketing should work. We all know marketing involves know, like, and trust. Well, if you don't email people, how are they going to get to know you? If you don't email them regularly, how are they going to like you? And how are they going to build up that trust? Because trust is built layer by layer. And if the only thing you ever do is ask them to buy something, they don't feel you've got their best interests at heart. They just know that, well, you've got a sales quota to meet or you've got some bills to pay. You just want me to buy something. And all of my emails, even now, I email probably 20,000 people once a week and I don't sell in that email. I literally I have nothing to sell you. Every now and then I will do a sales campaign. Don't get me wrong. You will eventually receive a sales email from me if those, I've got a book coming out next week. I am going to be mentioning that to my list quite a few times that I've got a book coming out. But 3 months from now, 6 months from now, it's back to business as normal. It's back to, hey, here's what I've been up to this week. Here's something you might find useful. It's back to relationship building. And I know, Darky, I think you've read Evergreen Assets, haven't you? Because there's a line I used in that book a lot, was that it's not a numbers game. Running a business, marketing is not a numbers game. It's a relationships game. And I must have hammered that point home probably 10 times, I think, over the course of that book, that it was all about building relationships, long-term relationships with your clients.
Yes, and you need these relationships so people can actually, like you say, know, like, and trust you. But your new book is talking about word of mouth. How does that come in? Because the word of mouth comes if people trust you, so they can recommend it to the others.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. Oh, word of mouth. Right, here we go. Are you ready for my soapbox?
Now we stepped into it. All right.
We're in the lion's den now. Here we go. So I wrote in my very first book, Big Ideas for Small Businesses, word of mouth is not a marketing channel. Okay. It was one of those things that really, really annoyed me because I see myself as a marketer and I would go to marketing groups, business groups. I would try to help small business owners. And there was a line that I would hear so many times that it really annoyed me. And it was a very proud business owner who said, I don't need to do any marketing. Word of mouth. I get all my business through word of mouth. And they're normally very, very proud of that. And rightly so, because you can understand why. Why do you get word of mouth referrals? Because you do a good job. Because you are known, liked, and trusted. Because people think you are the person to recommend. But I'm going to keep coming back to that word, control. You cannot control the flow of referrals from word of mouth. You cannot control the quality of referrals from word of mouth. So if let's go back again and say, right, word of mouth is my only marketing channel. That's all I get. I could get one referral in the next 6 months, or I could get 25 referrals in the next 30 minutes. neither of which is ideal for me. Because the first scenario, I'm going to be worried about putting food on the table because I'm not getting enough work in. And the second one, I'm overwhelmed. I've got too many leads. I can't deal with those people. So I'm not saying there isn't a place for word of mouth. Word of mouth is a natural byproduct of doing a good job. And it is part of the marketing ecosystem. It's definitely something I've learned since, because what is the greatest source of referrals and sales for books?
Reviews?
Podcasts. Here we go.
Podcasts?
The greatest source of sales for most books is word of mouth. And when I first kind of learned that, I thought, oh no, I'm Mr. Don't do word of mouth. It's not all about word of mouth. And then I realized and kind of went through my reading history. I went through my Audible history. I went through my Kindle library. I went through the books on this shelf. And I thought, how did I hear about each of these books? And I was like, oh no, someone told me about that one. I was in a mastermind group and someone said, oh, you'll like this book, John. This book's right up your street. And I suddenly went through and realized that, yeah, pretty much 80% of the books I've read are because someone else has said, this book's good. You'll like this book, John. I realized, yeah, that is word of mouth. But here's the thing. If word of mouth sells one copy of this in the next 6 months, I'm not very happy. But okay, fair enough. I've got other marketing channels. If word of mouth sells 25 copies of this in the next 30 minutes, great, because this book is automated. People buy this book. I don't get involved. There's no manual labor that I'm needed to do that with. I can take that. It scales up absolutely fine. But if I'm running a service business and I'm running it face-to-face, so I run a coaching business as well. So I have face-to-face and group coaching for small business owners. We do our intakes twice a year, March and September. An acceptable level of new clients is 20 to 25 new people per intake. A couple of years ago, we did 43 in one intake. And at the time, I was cheering. I was like, yeah, brilliant. We're going to make a load of money. We got all these new clients. Momentum. This is brilliant. And then we nearly broke ourselves trying to onboard 43 people, pretty much twice the number of people we should take on. That is the danger with word of mouth, is you don't control it. If we've got traditional marketing channels, let's say that same coaching business, we're doing paid ads. We're doing, whether it's Google ads, Facebook ads, Amazon ads, wherever you're spending your money. And you suddenly get really, really busy. You can turn the tap off and you can just go, whoa, I cannot deal with any more leads right now. Let me turn that marketing channel off. You can't turn word of mouth on or off. It is what it is. You're going to get it. The second point I made is quality of referral. Again, if I'm running paid ads, if I'm deliberately doing specific marketing channels, Aditi, you mentioned podcasting just now, I can refine the type of podcasts that I'm either advertising with or that I'm appearing on. If I'm suddenly noticing I'm getting low quality leads, clients that are not my target market, clients that don't have the budget to do what I do, or don't have the mindset or the headspace to be able to implement what I teach and what I coach, then I can change that. I can adapt that. With word of mouth, it's a lot more difficult. If let's say you're an accountant and someone posts on Facebook, can anyone recommend an accountant? And you're tagged in that. There are certain Facebook groups that you do not want to be tagged in, because you know the type of people that hang around in that Facebook group. But your friend thinks they're doing you a favor because they're tagging you. Hey, you want business, don't you? Let me tag you in a business. Let me use word of mouth to send you business. The wrong business. It's completely trashing your business. It's filling you up with low quality inquiries, which means you can't serve your best clients, your most profitable clients, in a way that you would want to. And again, I'm going to keep harping back to that word control. If word of mouth is your only marketing channel, you have no control whatsoever over your marketing.
Yes, I'm having some flashbacks with this Facebook group tagging. So, no, thank you. I do not exist there. Do not tag me, please.
Definitely. I think we've all been there, haven't we?
We've all been tagged by the wrong people in the wrong place at the wrong time. Absolutely.
And they all meant well, but no.
For sure. It comes from a good place. We had another comment in the meantime. Mary said, I'm moving mine to YouTube and my insider communities. Yeah. Insider. You like the word insider?
It's that control. It's making sure that you've got access to your audience. And if YouTube decides to move anything, you can move them across. I like multiple platforms as well. So actually, if you've got YouTube plus email, YouTube plus website, YouTube plus social media, there are multiple ways for people to find you. I mentioned just now, looking for a restaurant and, they've only got an Instagram page. I'm not on Instagram. Rules me out. Great. But for another generation, it's like, great. They'll look on Instagram. So I'm not saying don't have an Instagram page. I'm saying have an Instagram page and a YouTube channel and a LinkedIn profile and a website and probably a podcast, and train the AI agents to be recommending you, because that's the new SEO for the next generation. Is people aren't Googling restaurants near me. They're asking Claude, they're asking ChatGPT, they're asking Gemini, what is the best restaurant? And that's where the marketing ecosystem, the evergreen assets come into play, because what are the AI agents using? Well, they're using Reddit comments, they're using authority, they're Googling. Basically, the AI agents are Googling all of your businesses. They're comparing you all against each other and saying, this one's got 4 reviews, this one's got 45 reviews. This one, clients have said this, there have been complaints about this business. Here's what people talk about on social media about that business. When people say, I want a really good Chinese takeaway in Shoreditch, this is what people say. And that has come so far, Darko, hasn't it? From best Chinese restaurant in Shoreditch, Shoreditch Chinese restaurant, Shoreditch Chinese food in Shoreditch. Just stuffing those keywords in there to tell Google, this is what we do.
Yeah, not anymore. Well, okay. To change gears a bit. We all love to have new customers, exciting one, especially we creatives like photographers. We all like to work with new people, but this is not always the best option, is it?
No, definitely. It's so this is the topic of my new book, Retention First, and it's about the power of keeping the customers you've already got. And the headline stat that absolutely blew me away when I was doing the research for this book, and it actually comes from a guy called Frederick. I've forgotten his surname now. But Frederick used to work for Bain and Company, the big consultancies, and he is the guy who invented the Net Promoter Score. So if you've ever had an email that says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend this product or service? This is the guy who invented that. And the survey came about, and I think he surveyed a couple of 100,000 businesses and evaluated the effect that improving retention had on the business. And the stat was this: if you improve retention by as little as 5%, it increases profits by between 25% and 95%. So a 5% increase in retention up to 95% increase in profits. Almost doubling your profits just by keeping 5% more customers. And that absolutely blew me away, because we often talk about asymmetrical risk versus reward, highly leveraged work that we can do. Is there a more leveraged piece of work than just keeping 5% more customers and nearly doubling your profit? I don't think there is. So
and it's not only about this, but it's just keeping an audience that you already have, and
yeah,
that you
absolutely.
interacted with, and that they paid you already.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you might have seen on LinkedIn over the weekend, I had a little rant about a gutter company. This made it into the book as well, so you can read the full story in the book. But ultimately, about 3 years ago, I had my gutters cleaned on my house for the first time ever, and I went on. So how do I find this company? I Google them. I click on a Google ad, so they've paid to acquire me. They give me a quote. They come out like 5 days later. They do a great job. They turn up on time. They whiz their brushes and their ladders up and their hoses, and they clean up after themselves. And they do a really good job, and they do the job for the price they quoted. And I'm there going, this is brilliant. I'm loving this company. And guy knocks on the door. He says, "Oh, we're all done." I went, "Oh, cool, lovely. Just out of interest, how often should I have my gutters cleaned?" And he said, "Oh, we recommend once a year." I went, "Okay." So I look at him, and he looks at me, and he goes, "See you later then." And off he drove in his van, and I have never seen him again. I've never heard from him. Has he emailed me? No. Has he sent a text message? Has he followed up in any way to get any more money out of me? No. After me standing there showing him an open go, saying, "So you're saying I should have my gutters cleaned every 12 months? I'm on board with that. Come on, it's your turn. This is where you
nothing.
go." This is where you go, "Shall I book you for that then? Shall I book you?" That's all he needed to do. And I call it the BAFTA approach. Book appointment from today's appointment. Hairdressers do it, dentists do it, my chiropractor does it, my dog groomer does it. They don't leave the premises, or you don't leave their premises without knowing, when am I going to see you again? When's our next appointment? When's our next interaction? And what really, really annoyed me about this business, when I really started thinking about, other than, right, that was a nice open go, I spent £140 with this business. And to date, as I sit here now, that's all I've spent with them, £140. They paid Google ads. They probably paid, I don't know, £3 for the click. I don't know how many clicks they convert into customers, but let's say it's 1 in 5. That's £15 they've paid to acquire one customer who's paid them £140. They're in profit. Great, they're happy. But what are they doing for business now? They're going back to Google, hunting and paying Google for new customers. When, if they send me a text message for free, if they email me for free, if they simply talk to me and ask, they get another £140 out of me. "John, do you want your gutters cleaned again now? It's been 3 years since we cleaned them. Sorry it's been so long. It's been 3 years. Would you like your gutters cleaned?" "Yes, please." Boom, they've just doubled their lifetime value. I've just spent twice as much money with them as I otherwise would have done. Now, I had a look on their website not long after they left, because it did annoy me that he just walked away. So I went on their website, and they've got our services page. Here are the services we offer: patio cleaning, window cleaning, glass cleaning. Now, outside of I've got 13 windows. I counted them, 13 windows on my house. They could have cleaned those windows every 2 weeks, certainly at least once a month for the past 3 years. I've got a massive patio out there, needs power washing probably twice a year. They could have done that twice a year, 6 times they could have cleaned my patio. I've got a big glass balustrade balcony, certainly once a year, probably twice a year. That needs a good clean. This guy, if he put retention first and thought about obsessing over and serving an existing customer rather than going out and winning a new one, would have said, "John, do you want me to take care of all this for you? Do you want me to we'll clean the windows, we'll do the patios, we'll just turn up when stuff needs doing, and we'll chuck you on a monthly direct debit. We'll put, I don't know, £50 a month, £60 a month, and we'll take care of everything, all those jobs you don't want to do." And I'd have probably said, Yeah, that's a great idea. I might have said, all right, we've already got a window cleaner. We don't need that doing. But yeah, do the patios, do the balustrades, do the gutters, and chuck me on a 25 quid a month direct debit. I don't need to worry about it. They could have had a 4-figure spend out of me over the last 3 years. Instead, they've had 140 quid and they're off chasing new customers again. And that's my soapbox with this book, is very much, that's actually the norm. That is how most small businesses run. They go and get a customer, and then the minute they've got that customer and they've served that customer, they're looking over their shoulder for the next one, and they're ignoring that customer. That customer's done. I've served that customer. I'm off looking for the next one now. And so many business owners are like that, and it does annoy me a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's understandable, but from the point of view of service provider, I do what I need to do. I just have been paid for the service, and then I think, okay, I won't bother the person. He paid me now, so I won't bother them and make me look like all I want is money from him.
Yeah.
And if he'll need me, he'll call me because we've done a good service.
Yeah,
and this is not how it works, you're saying.
I can fully understand I don't want to bother them. I don't want to be seen to be selling. Really good example of this I'm going to use is actually a guy called Lee, and he's the guy who designed this cover and indeed all of my book covers. And I was introduced to Lee through word of mouth. So someone I was in a mastermind group with showed me a bit of marketing that he'd done, and this chap Lee had created. I went, oh, that's really good. I love that. Who did this? He said, oh, it's this guy called Lee. I'll introduce you. So I emailed Lee and said, hi, look, I have no work for you, but I just want to say hi. I want to connect with you because when I have got some work, I'm going to give it to you. But I want to connect now because I love your work. Cool, no worries. About 3 weeks later, my business partner and I are going networking. Oh, we need some business cards. We need to update our logo. Lee, get on to Lee. Lee, can you do me a logo and a business card? Yeah, no worries. I can do that for you. Cool, no worries. Oh, Lee, we're launching a podcast. Could you do some artwork for that? Yeah, of course I could. Lee, I'm thinking about writing a book. Do you do book covers? Yeah, of course I do. Right, I'm about to launch the book. Lee, our website needs overhauling. Do you think you could do that? And it's suddenly, I've probably spent 50 grand with Lee over the last 10 years. Now, to begin with, that was very much me going, can you do this? Can you do that? But eventually, this is what Lee does very well now. He would just ring me up a couple of times a year. Right, John, what's going on? What's in the pipeline? What's coming up? What are you working on at the moment? We got another book in the pipeline. And he would just have a conversation. And it will be, how's the family? How's the health? What's happening this? How's the book selling? We'll have a chat. We've got that relationship now whereby ostensibly Lee's ringing up to shake the tree and see if I want any work done. But I don't feel sold to, because if I don't have anything on, Lee isn't giving me the hard sell saying, well, come on, John, you really should be doing another book. Look, I need the work here, so you get on and write that bloody book so I can do a book cover. Or, well, I think it's about time we updated your website now. No, he just says, what's going on? What's in the pipeline? What are you working on? Keeping in touch. And if you do that, you can automate that. Again, you can have the weekly email. You can have your social connections. But it is just about keeping in touch with people. Yeah, you got to get the balance right, Darko, because yes, you could go out and bother people a couple of times a week and they'd get frustrated with that. Or you could be that gutter cleaning company who just ignores people for 3 years. Neither is ideal. So you've got to find a balance that feels right for you. And I remember my brother-in-law, when I first started coaching him, he was running a handyman business. It's like, you've got to follow up with your existing clients. So just send them a card. It's been a rough winter. Your garden probably needs a bit of work, whatever. Oh, I don't want to bother them. And he really didn't enjoy marketing. He didn't enjoy following up with people. Ultimately, it's got to feel right for you. I can't sit here and tell you this is how you should run your business. My key thing has always been, you run your business your way. But really think about how you want your way to be. I think everyone should be a marketer of what they do. Let's say word of mouth is great because you're very good at, I don't know, you're very good at photography, or you're very good at web design, or you're very good at being a chiropractor. But you still need to be a marketer of photography, a marketer of web design, a marketer of chiropracticery. Whoa, there's a word I've made up. Back cracking and stuff.
Yeah.
Chiropracticery. That's a new word, isn't it?
I'm not sure. Adita, you're an expert here. I have no idea.
It's simpler. It's always simpler than we think, like in everything else. Now, in the interest of keeping our existing viewers who've been kind enough to say a few words in the comments, I'm going to show those now. Mary is saying, considering the people are censoring everything and everyone, you still ultimately want the right people to find you and interact at a deeper level.
Yeah, definitely. It's sorry.
Mirta said, word of mouth kept me busy for the first 10 years of my life as a business owner. I only started advertising later when I had a bigger team.
Yeah, I think that's the same for a lot of people. Interestingly, so in my first book, I wrote this book in 2017, and in it I talk about a newspaper interview that I gave in 2001. So this would have been around about that time I earned that first check for £13.51, and I had an interview with the local newspaper, and I didn't recognize myself in this interview because the interview was full of, I'm not going to take any silly risks. I don't really want to grow the business. I plan on growing via word of mouth. I don't want to waste any money on advertising. I actually use that line. I don't want to waste any money on advertising. Fast forward, 5, 6, 7 years, and I'm spending $100,000 a year on Facebook ads and Google ads, and I'm throwing money at advertising because I knew then it wasn't wasted money on advertising. What I actually meant when I started out was I can't afford to lose money. So I saw advertising as a risk. I had no budget for marketing, so shoe leather was my only option. And that for me involved a lot of spamming, a lot of learning how to gamify SEO and word of mouth. But you can't control word of mouth. So you've got to do something that you control as well. And I think ultimately I talk about this a lot within our businesses. There's what you need to do to get your business off the ground. And then there's what you need to do to sustain your business and keep it going. And it's very much like, 747 takeoff. You dump a lot of fuel to get off the ground. Launch velocity requires a lot of effort and a lot of hustle, basically. But eventually, when you're at 30,000 feet, you shouldn't be dumping fuel still. You should be in cruise control. You should be using your dials a lot more. You should be actually leaning into what works best for you. And yeah, you should be exploring whether an investment in marketing can generate a positive return on investment. That's I think and it is a different mindset, and I completely get that. And the first 10 years, I think the first 10 years of most businesses are, much as I said in my introduction, figuring out what doesn't work. trying stuff. This seems to work. This doesn't, right? Throw that away, keep that. And for me, certainly when I gave that interview, I felt that advertising was one of the things that wouldn't work. And then suddenly, it probably would have been less than a year later after that, after I gave that interview, I'm not wasting money on advertising. Google Ads launch in the UK, and I'm suddenly buying clicks for half of 1 pence, and I'm earning 30 times my money in 2 months later, 3 months later. And I'm not wasting money on advertising anymore. And suddenly I'm generating revenue, I'm generating profit from this. And I think the more that you can actually, again, if you're going to invest marketing dollars, marketing pounds, or marketing euros anywhere, invest it in retention, because that is where you'll get the greatest bang for your buck. There's some studies I talk about in here regarding investment in retention. And there were studies of millions of campaigns. So my own one is I spent £54 getting some letters printed, getting some postcards printed, sending them out to 20 former clients who had worked with us in the past. They'd given us some money in the past and who we would like to work with again. Sent that out, £54 spend. So far, it's generated £23,000 in revenue. That was sent probably 3-4 years ago. That's not unusual. And I think some of the stats around that, those that spent over $5,000 on their reactivation campaign generated a return on investment of 32 to 1. Those who spent less than $5,000 generated a return on investment of 182 to 1. And the vast majority of people who did these reactivation campaigns spent next to nothing, in which case their returns were pretty much infinite. It is by far the greatest return on investment you can get is by reinvesting what you've got into retention, into serving existing customers better, obsessing over existing customers, reactivating those lapsed ones who might have slipped away, that you know you can help, that you know you want to work with again, that actually are the right quality, the right caliber of client, as opposed to just going out and blindly getting another £140 gutter clean from someone who maybe doesn't ever want their gutters cleaned again.
Or this one. You reminded me that I need to make some phone calls after a couple of years. So, good reminder.
Send a phone call, send a card, send a letter, just nudge. Hey.
Yeah. So it doesn't need to be an email every week. Even a call is okay. Yep. In the meantime, we had zero-click answer to one of the things we talked about. From her. Frederick Reichelt. Example of today's technology.
Exactly.
And regarding your book, where is the QR code? It can be found here. It's available. It's coming out next Thursday. Is it available already via pre-order? So
weirdly, Amazon are very strange around this. So you can pre-order the Kindle book, and you can pre-order the Audible audiobook. But for some reason, the hardcover and the paperback not coming out until the 26th. So you can't pre-order those. But you can pre-order the Kindle or the audiobook. All of my other books are available there as well. So Big Ideas for Small Businesses, Routine Machine, Evergreen Assets, and The False Exit, which I don't think we've mentioned yet today. But that's about creating a business that you would not want to exit rather than a traditional exit.
And in the pre-live, Darko mentioned how he enjoys listening to your books in your own voice. So that's a recommendation there as well.
Thank you. I actually had to audition for the first book. So I'd already written Big Ideas for Small Businesses, launched it as a paperback, and the audiobook publisher came to me and said, "Look, we want to buy the rights to the book." I said, "Yeah, no worries." I said, "Just one condition. I want to read it myself. I want to narrate the book myself." And they said, "Oh, no, we don't work like that. We've got professional narrators." And I said, "Well, it's a bit of a game changer for me because I know, in general, I prefer to listen to a book, certainly non-fiction. I prefer to listen to a book that is narrated by the author. You get that passion, you get that intonation as intended by the author that just isn't there with a professional narrator." I said, I want to do this. And they said, "Well, we'll let you audition for it." They said, "Send us a recording of you narrating a chapter and we'll make a decision." So I went through Big Ideas for Small Business and I picked the most personal chapter to me that I could possibly find in the book, recorded it, and 10 minutes later they went, "Yeah, you've got the job. You can narrate it." Interestingly,
you didn't cry, did you?
Very close to it.
Mel Robbins does this, and she has it in her audio version. So yeah.
There is, interestingly, I came back from recording my 5th audiobook last December. Same audio publisher, and they emailed and said, "John, have you ever thought of a career as narrating? Because you've certainly got the chops." I'm like, from you can't do this and you need to audition for your own book to do you want a job?
That's another business to build then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, again, power of AI. I did say to him, like, why am I narrating this book? Because you've got me narrating 25, 30 hours worth of audio. Just plug the text in, train the model on my voice. I'm sure it could do it. But even then,
it won't be the same.
Exactly, it wouldn't be, because, and then we mentioned this on the before we started recording, when I am reading this, I am emphasizing the things that I know are really important and I want to really get across. Now, if you just read the text version of that, you don't know. I may italicize some stuff and I may bold some stuff, but you don't get just how important this bit really, really is until I use intonation like that. And I think this is what we're like, please do not. I'm waving my hands now on the audio. I do that in the sound booth, and it comes across. It really does, in a way that AI never could. But we all know that's where it's going, because at the end of the day, they've had to pay to ship me up to Leicester and put me up in a hotel. And for an AI bot, they don't have to do that, do they?
Yeah, they don't. Okay, thank you so much for your time. We know you're busy with releasing this book. So is there anything that you want to say to our audience before we part our ways?
I think the main thing that I would really, really love to just get across with this book is to obsess over your customers, obsess over the ones you've already got. I mentioned the gutter cleaning company. And if they genuinely obsessed over me, they would not be happy looking out of my dirty windows now, looking at a green stained balustrade and a dirty patio. Because that's all they need to do is obsess over me and my needs, and to actually serve me at every opportunity. And that is, we mentioned earlier, getting that balance right between being a pain and never following up. So you want to be a housefly. You just, oh look, there's a fly, as opposed to a wasp. No one wants to be a wasp. No one wants a wasp in their room. But a fly, oh look, there's a fly. Let me open the window and let them out. Use these windows need cleaning. Just obsess over your existing customers every chance you get. And as that Frederick Reichheld stat says, there is no better way to grow a business, grow the profitability of a business, than by obsessing over and keeping the customers that you've already got.
Thank you, John. It's been a true pleasure. Take care. And thank you to everyone in the comments for saying hi to us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if anyone's got any questions, anyone wants to know anything, happy to drop me a line, John at bigidea.co.uk. So that was my old email address there.
Okay, we'll write it down in the show notes. So yeah, thank you once again and have a great day.